Hey, Beyond listeners, welcome back to the Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Flora, and I'm really excited for our next guest today. Mona Patel is an accomplished digital strategy and product leader with extensive experience in the hospitality and consumer goods industries. Mona's true passion lies in building and nurturing community, especially for moms. She created her personal blog at Mama's Tribes Unite to create a space where mothers can find a connection and support. She is also the founder of South Asian Working Moms, a nonprofit organization based in Atlanta, dedicated to empowering and uplifting the lives of South Asian working mothers. This is how I not only found Mona, but also why I invited her to this podcast. And through this community, Mona is committed to inspiring personal and professional growth, fostering connections, and helping women find strength in their collective journey. Now, beyond that, that's not it, you guys. Mona is also the director of digital platform and strategy at Marriott International. She leads the digital roadmap for Gaylord Hotels, driving demand, building brand preference, and cultivating long-term customer loyalty. Hi, everyone. You are listening to Beyond, and I'm your host, Dr. Flora. Listen, life is hard. You don't have to do it alone. As a mindset coach, physician, mom, and an infertility warrior, I have mastered techniques to help move you towards contentment and growth. I can't wait to go along with this crazy ass life journey with you while making sure you feel like your best self. This podcast is meant to have you feel unstuck from your rut and less alone. Let's do this. Mona, welcome to the Beyond podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dr. Flora. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I think you have so many gems to share for our listeners, especially for our moms, our working moms. Want to make sure that they all feel seen and heard, and plus taking little tips and tricks to make sure that they don't feel out of control where all the things are being hitting
right
from all different angles.
And the timing is so perfect right now. We were talking about it's turning into Maycember, and we have so much on our list of things to do. But that's definitely the thing. It's like, how can mothers be heard and seen? And we're in this together, right? So like, it takes a village to get through this.
Absolutely. So you're already a busy mom, a busy working professional. What made you say to yourself, like, oh, let me take on yet another project, like a personal blog and a nonprofit?
Yeah, it's always, I've been going out, when you go out to your friends and you're talking about social aspects, right? And then you talk about your careers, but you never dig in deep. It's just like at a high level. I don't even think my friends knew exactly what I did, for example, right? And I just laugh. And then people will say, well, I wanted to found a new business. How do I do that? I want to be a founder. And I had a friend who wanted to start a nutritious business for 10 years and didn't know where to start. And that's where we started talking. I was like, well, have you connected with anybody? She said, I don't know where to go. Who do I connect with? And that's when I said, you know what? I feel like there's a need here that we need to start connecting women together and offering them with support and just to empower them. And that's when I said, well, I've lived in Atlanta almost my whole life, and there is a niche right here. And I thought there's 3 tiers, really. I was like, one being South Asian. We're going through so much stuff at that level with our culture, making sure we instill those values with our children, carry on the reins from our parents, right? That's one aspect. 2, being women, what we go through in life, and especially being moms, right? And just having that village, because you cannot do it alone. There's no way. And then 3, working. How do you do it all? We always say the juggle's real, the struggle's real, but what are we doing about it? And how are we accomplishing that? So that's when that's when I came up with this idea. And I was like, for my 40th birthday, I'm going to start this organization. And I'm going to call it South Asian Working Moms. And we're going to kick off and let's just see where it goes. And really, one was to bring in speakers to talk about different topics, but just to build that community within Atlanta, for example, of that support. And that's how it kicked off. And then from that, it did so well for like a year and a half that I formalized it last year. and we became a nonprofit, a 501c6, which was amazing.
Wow.
And so now
Congratulations.
thank you. And I even have like a board of directors now who helped me get to that point. We worked with an attorney, and we are currently at 87 members right now.
Wow, that's
So yes.
amazing.
So,
And are they all local or
they're
are
all
they?
local.
Oh,
Yes. And we
amazing.
literally just organized it. Like we formalized it in September of 2024. So here we
Oh,
are 6 months
like
later.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And here we are, 87 members. So it's been a huge one.
Wow, congrats. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
And I think it also is a testament to your patience and persistence. I think a lot of the times we expect things to happen yesterday,
Right.
and patience is a virtue. I'm learning that as a business builder and entrepreneur as well. No one teaches you how to build a business or run a
Exactly.
business in medical
Right.
school unless you go
Right.
to business school. And so that has been one of my hardest lessons. So what about specifically, what about South Asian women that made you realize that we are being not only overworked, but overlooked at
Right.
home, at our jobs? What about us?
Yeah, I think it's that cultural expectations that you just do hard work and it all pays off. Right. And I think that goes such a long way. And I've been taught differently, right? Speak up for what you stand for. Do work hard, but if you don't speak up, you're not going to get what you want. And I just have seen so many friends go through this where they're like, I'm working so hard. Why am I not getting anywhere? I'm not getting that promotion. At home, it's not enough. And I just feel like we're managing high pressure jobs. Then we're like moms and trying to, manage all of those expectations with our kids running around. We always say we're kind of the default parent a lot of times, right? But how do we do that? And how do we handle it? Right. So for me, it's that quiet realization that we can't do it all, and that's okay. You have to prioritize what you can and cannot do, and have a support to help you on things, like ask for help. I try to do everything myself, I remember. And it's just, you reach a point that it's just, you can't turn back and you're overwhelmed completely. Not until I finally got someone to help me with the kids, for example, even
Mhm.
school pickups. That saved me 3 hours that I could work in my job, that I'm not stressed taking my laptop everywhere. Right. If I can get my parents to help, take the kids to some of their activities, and I can get dinner ready. Right. And, so I think those are the things. But that's where I just feel like with South Asians, especially family, they expect the moms to do it all a lot of times. How do you do that plus a full-time job? Right. And running around. I just feel like it's changed so much since our parents were there. And I still remember to this
Absolutely.
day, like my mom, she changed her job to part-time so she could be there when we came from school, kept dinner ready. Right. It's just changed now. I think, the whole aspect. So how do we help women be seen and heard that it's okay to do what you can? Prioritize. If you don't like to cook, don't cook, outsource it. Right? It's okay. Don't feel like you failed as a mom because you haven't done one thing. For me, I don't like to cook as much as my husband, so he now does a lot of the dinners, but I get to spend time with my kids. Right? And
Yeah.
that's my time, but then I clean up. Right? So we
Yeah.
switch. So things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a cultural, the ingrained cultural necessities, I think
Yes,
within us, they run deep, and it's really
they really do.
difficult to undo the expectations that no one's actually asking you to reach.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just holding these expectations within ourselves. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a very like traditional Gujarati household
Hmm.
where mom, stay at home mom, raising
Yes.
3 kids, hardest job in the world. And my dad provided, worked just as hard as a
Yes.
physician and as a private practice owner. And my mom did this all alone in a way, right? She was
Right.
running around doing school drop-offs, pickups, dinner, all the meals,
All
forget
of it.
about just
Yeah.
dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there were 5 of us total,
Oh my
plus
gosh.
keeping up with the household chores. And so I saw that as the norm.
Hmm.
And while I was trying to pursue my own career, in my head, I was telling myself, oh, I have to do that too. What my mom did, plus go out and work 40 hours a week. Like, how does
Right.
that
How's that? Yeah.
make
And
it?
how's that norm now? Right. Like that's what I laugh about. I'm
Correct.
like, how is that normal? It's not.
Yeah. The
And
math ain't mathin' for sure
it
on
ain't
that
happening
one.
for sure. I like that. Exactly. Absolutely. It's not. And I think, like we said, like it's also okay to ask for help. Like my husband and I now divide and conquer, because I feel that's so important for kids to see that. We have to, like, the norm is not what we've seen before. It's changed. So
Agreed.
let's
And
make sure our kids see that.
100%. I'm so glad that you also mentioned your partner because, again, traditional Desi
Yes.
households, we see the male counterparts, providing, also working hard. I don't want to discount
Yes.
that,
Correct.
but the expectation that the woman, the female partner, is supposed to do all the things
Right.
and plus pick up the mental load of the household and errands and planning is
Right.
absolutely absurd. So,
It is.
men,
Yes.
like, come on, get
Yes.
with it. Listen to your partner. If she feels overwhelmed, figure out why instead
Correct.
of blame or judging. And again,
Exactly.
I'm just making a blanket statement. I
No,
think our husbands are
absolutely.
fabulous. I know Sanjay has stepped up his game like no other. But I think
Right.
it's a matter of also, as you said, explaining too. I don't think,
Exactly.
our female brains physiologically work differently. And
Absolutely.
that's on top of the culture, right? That
Yes,
we have
exactly.
seen a certain way that we were all raised and we thought that was
The
normal.
normal, exactly. And
Mhm.
it's different when you can see things, right? When they're tactical, doing dishes, making dinner, right? But the aspects I tell people is like the things that we just take care of. Sometimes we work and we're scheduling appointments. We're figuring out who's going to, get the teacher gift, right? Those are all the mental load that we carry, right? That I, for example, tell Snehal, my husband, those are things you don't see that just get done. Those Amazon packages that are coming in, making sure the kids have all their school supplies, all that. Those are the things on top of the physical. Right. And so that's the stuff where I say I'm tired, not just physically, but sometimes mentally too. So,
Absolutely.
and I think it's just letting them know, hey, I'm going to do this. Can you take care of this? And we just
Mhm.
have lists now. And I think that makes such a big difference.
Yeah, I think having shared lists is such an important way to communicate needs
Yes.
and things that need to be done because delegating is also yet another to do.
It is.
Oh, and we're not asking for our partners to read our minds, but if things are transparent, even
Yes.
if it's a to do of, getting Gia, my daughter, a new pair of pants.
Hmm.
Granted, I'm the fashion person, so I will take Gia shopping. But, these little things like he can see and he's like, okay, you know what? The clothing is maybe not my forte, but hey, we need to Venmo the class mom for, the teacher appreciation
Yes.
week. Let me just quickly get that done. So it is important for transparency, communication, and no one is a
Key.
mind reader, y'all. Like we don't
No,
have to expect that, but it is
exactly.
important to understand with
Absolutely.
transparency.
And once they start doing it, I think the appreciation is there for both sides, right? Even more that there isn't, but
Absolutely.
we're in this together, right? Like this is a
Yeah.
partnership. And the kids
Yeah.
see that. And I feel like the kids start, you'll see them even start helping too, because they see that both sets of parents are helping.
Yeah. And I think we've all grown up with the culture that more is more and more is
Hmm.
better. And not only from a cultural aspect, but from a societal aspect as
Yes.
well. So a lot of people, and I have to catch myself, we feel inferior when we are resting or doing
Yes.
less, quote.
Right.
How do you respond to someone that says, oh my God, Mona, you're doing it all. How do you do it all?
Yeah. And that's what I tell them I prioritize, right? So for me, I energize by doing more around the community and helping. So for me, that is my norm. And I live for that. I strive for that. Right. But what they don't see behind the scenes is all the planning I do up front. Right. Like at night, I have my list and I start packing my car, for example, for an event 4 days before. Like I already know everything I have. So I'm not stressed. So for me, it's showing up at the event, but then I have my downtime at home. I block off time where I like to just sit and watch Netflix shows, right? And I relax. So that is my strength, right? It energizes me again and I need that rest. So that's what I tell people. Everyone does it differently. I have friends
Absolutely.
who it burns them to go out, right? It takes so much out of them. So that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not doing enough, right? And I think that's what we do. We look at social media and see all these people are doing these great things and compare ourselves. But you cannot. We're each different, right? All of us are
Absolutely.
different.
I love that you mentioned that because I think we also hold ourselves to other people's
We
standards
do.
and we see these quick highlights and snapshots of people's lives that they just happen to post on
Yes.
social media. Or we, in our explore page, we have these reels that are showing organizational things where someone spent an hour filming. Who knows what the rest of their life looks like?
Correct.
So a lot of this is subconscious as well.
It really is. And you don't want to go down that slippery slope. I mean, I've been there too. And here we are. I always laugh. I'm like, I'm teaching my kids not to do that, but I catch myself doing that as well. And so I
Yeah.
think you just reach a point in your life where you know what energizes you and where you should focus and where you do need that downtime, for example, and do other things. Because I want to block off that time with my family where we're all just sitting together doing a movie night or we're playing games. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that that we're not doing enough. You just need that time and just balance it as much as possible. Otherwise you're going to burn out, and you need to
Absolutely.
know like, where is that point that you're going to burn out and stop. Right.
Yeah. So I think it's important to self reflect. I think it's important to know your limits. I think it's important to know what fills your cup
Yes.
without slowing you down, if that makes sense. Like if
Yes.
you are going to sit and watch TV for 24 hours a day, obviously that's not productive. And
Right.
obviously that's not good for your health either. But
Mm-hmm.
say you have a lot more humans in your household. Say you are working full time
Mm-hmm.
and your job doesn't allow flexibility. It takes a village.
It really
No one
does.
is doing it all alone. A lot of us are doing it all with a ton of help
Yes.
and a ton of organization and a ton of mindset change, which is
Yes.
obviously what I coach on. But I think
No, I
it
love
is
that you say that.
important.
Yeah, because it is very important. And I think having a mindset coach is very important to let you know it's okay because we have all this ingrained in our head because we've been brought up that you should be able to do it all. Why can't you? And like you
Yeah.
said, it does take a village. And I think I finally reached the point we never did carpool and all these things for sports. I started doing that and it's been a game changer, right? Like if you have a 2-hour drive, my daughter plays soccer, travel soccer. Why am I spending all that time? Because they have to get there early. If she can go with a friend and I'll go there later, or my husband will go, for example.
Right.
But the
Right.
carpool makes a big difference. And
And I
I feel
think
bad.
mom
Yeah.
guilt is a huge thing too.
Yes.
So I can already hear some of listeners' inner voice being like, oh, she's not supporting her kids, or I want to
Mm-hmm.
go physically see my child so they know that I'm there for them. But
Right.
we also want to recognize that being present is so much more important than the quantity, right? Quality time
Yes.
overcomes
Absolutely.
the quantity of hours if you're split brain the entire
Mm-hmm.
time. And
And
kids
you
know that.
nailed it. They do. And you nailed it because there were times where I would catch myself going and I had my laptop working, trying to. And Dylan, my son, would be, Mom, you weren't even watching me. So you're
Yes.
right. It's not about quantity. I'm there, but I'm not literally there, right? I'm not
Yeah.
present to your point.
Yeah.
That means more to them than just coming to everything.
And
Absolutely.
also know that your kids are watching, right? They're emulating, just
Absolutely.
like we, have these certain expectations given what we were grown. Let me rephrase that. Given what we were growing up with and how we expect that of ourselves, our
Yes.
kids are doing the same thing. So if they're watching us on our phones, half
Yes.
listening, they think that's normal, which it shouldn't be,
It shouldn't
even though
be.
it may be.
Yes. But
And so,
yeah,
yeah,
they do catch you. They
yeah,
do. And when I put my kids to bed, like Dylan now, he catches me. He's like, Mom, you're on your phone. You're not really spending time with me. And it's a reminder. So now I've been starting to keep my phone downstairs and I'll
yep,
go up to put him to bed. But
yep,
you just talk so much more. And there's so many things you get
yeah,
out that you think you're doing these things, but you're not. You're right. They're
yeah,
watching you.
yeah. And even silence is
Yes.
really special. And
It
it
is.
doesn't have to be a deep conversation. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be, there doesn't have to be music or an audiobook or a podcast in the background.
Yes.
I think recently I have a preteen, she's 9 going on 19. And randomly I have so starting in 2025, I have been very cognizant of my screen use,
Mm-hmm.
and I have blocks of time in areas of the house where I put my phone in a place that I can't see it.
It's great.
And I'm present with whoever's around me, Sanjay, my
Mm-hmm.
husband, Gia, my child, even Lulu, our dog. Like
Oh,
we're just interacting.
right.
And lately I have noticed that Gia will randomly come up to me in those times, by the way,
Huh?
give me a hug or give me like a
Oh,
quick kiss on my shoulder or my
love it.
arm and just walk away.
Oh,
And one time I'm like, what, why? Like,
why?
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Why did you do that? She was like, I don't know. I just love you.
Oh, that
And
probably just
that
melts
was
your heart.
it
Like, that's
totally
us.
does. It totally does. And that was after, a 12-hour clinic day. And I didn't see her until the evening,
Oh my
essentially. I
gosh.
woke her up in the morning. My nanny
Yeah.
came, did her thing, took her to her extracurricular activities.
Right.
Sanjay was work. I was at work. We both come home in the evening.
My
Dinner,
gosh.
gets going. And
Right.
it was just in those 3 hours,
And it's just
from
that
6 to 9.
moment, right? It's
Just
like you
a
don't have to
moment.
say it, but feel it, right? And just
Yeah.
her doing
Yeah.
that probably meant everything.
It really did. And they do recognize the difference. So, given everything that we just talked about, right?
Yes.
You are planning, you are prioritizing, you are
Yes.
delegating. I'm assuming those contribute to preventing your own burnout.
Yes.
But what else do you do to prevent burnout, if there's anything else?
Yeah. So I've been better now about saying no to things without a reason, right? So you get invited to all these things all the time. And if it just is not my cup of tea or I do need a day to rest, I say no and I don't explain why. I every week make time for myself to either something for me, whether it's an hour, like go to a coffee date with a friend or get a pedicure, manicure, right? Just even get my eyebrows done, just something for myself that makes me feel like I've accomplished what I needed to this week. And here I'm taking a break. And usually I try to block off my Fridays at work are not too busy. So usually early afternoon or right after I pick up the kids, I try to do something, whether it's even going out for ice cream with them. But I think taking that time for yourself, and every day I journal in the morning, for example, for 10 to 15 minutes and just pause and reflect on what I want to accomplish for the day and what I'm grateful for. And I think when you start seeing what you're grateful for, it just changes that burnout a little bit more because it kind of grounds you again to like, this is what I live for. This is what I want to do. And I'm not going to burn out because this is really my goal. And if I have all these other noise, how do I get rid of that noise so I can really focus on these main priorities? That
Yeah.
goes a long way. And I know people laugh at journaling, but seeing it in writing, for example, to me, than typing just makes such a big difference.
You're absolutely right. I think the biggest comeback I have from almost every one of my clients is I don't have time.
Yes.
And I don't have time to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and write for 5 minutes. And I challenge a lot of them on
Oh, I
that.
bet.
And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. That's another thing I think we need to let
Yes,
go of. It doesn't have to be 7 days a week. And I'm
exactly.
assuming you have days where you're like, okay, I got to get my ass into gear. I
Correct.
got early things, early meetings, drop offs, pickups, whatever. I don't have
Absolutely.
time to journal. And that's okay because
It's
you've been
okay.
journaling for a while and that probably carries you over, the next
Abs-
couple of days if you don't journal.
yes, for sure. And if not, it's mentally there, right? Like even if I'm not physically writing it some days, like, but I'm like, I don't have like time today because I have a launch at work. But mentally, I do a quick check, like, okay, what is
Yes.
grounding me? Even if I'm
Yes.
working out, like in the morning,
Yes.
I go to work out like 3 days a week at least. It's a mental thing too. Like, okay,
Yes.
when I get there, what am I
Absolutely.
focusing on today? Like in the car ride,
Yes.
the car ride is
Yep.
5 minutes.
Yep.
That can be your own mental journal,
Yes.
honestly.
We are so similar, Mona. I do the same thing.
Do
So
you?
I used to journal quite a bit.
Hmm.
And then I don't know, I changed and
Yeah.
I don't journal as much, but I do so many self check-ins during my drive to
Great.
work.
Yes.
When I'm in the bathroom, in the shower, I feel like showering like gets the
It
brain
does.
juices
It
going.
does. It is the best spot, actually. It really
It
is.
is.
And all the
So
ideas come up too.
yes. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. The amount of
Yes.
voice notes I have on my phone, like me screaming from the shower,
Oh my gosh.
it's a lot.
Oh.
But yeah, and that's where I think the silence actually plays a huge role. So even if you're going for a walk or if you're driving
Yes.
in the car without your kids, turn off the music, podcast, audiobooks.
Correct.
You don't have to learn something or be doing something 24/7.
Exactly.
Stay in the silence and you'd be surprised actually what comes to you. And I like doing a body check-in, like head to toe. Like, how am I physically feeling? How am I emotionally feeling? What's bothering me? What am I going to
Yeah.
do about it? And then let
That's
it
good.
go. And then I
Yes.
let it go
That's
and
true.
move on with my day instead of lingering and ruminating.
Exactly. Yeah. And I actually, last Friday for the first time through our group did a sound bath. And
Oh, they're
I didn't
so good.
realize I have never done it. And I realized just even like you said, it could be silence and there was silence in there. And then just basic sounds really kind of just makes you focus. And you're like, wow, that makes like all that stress just went away. I didn't think
Mhm.
about anything for a good 30 minutes.
Do you ever feel like you are juggling a million things at once? especially if you are a business owner. You're trying to grow your business, but also, run your business. It can feel like you are drowning in your to dos with barely a moment to breathe, let alone dream bigger. I have been there. Now, look, I tried hiring a gamut of virtual assistants, but it often felt like there was just one other thing on my to do list. I had to spoon feed tasks, constantly check in, recheck their work, and still worry about things slipping through the cracks. It wasn't until I found Savannah and Natalie at Every Virtual Solutions that I truly understood the difference between help and the right kind of help. They have extensive marketing, development, and executive assistant backgrounds so they can take the weight off of your shoulders so you can focus on what you do best, being the visionary. Book a free discovery call on their website and mention this episode for a 10% discount for your first 6 months. Head over to everyvirtualsolutions.com. That's EVERAE virtualsolutions.com. Whether it's web design, content creation, email management, social media, PR, or anything in between, I know you will find a way to work together to lighten your load. It's time to end the burnout and start focusing on you. Yeah,
And I
sound
was like,
baths are
that's what I
beautiful.
need. And the lady, told me, she's like, you don't need to do 30 minutes. Take 5 to 10 minutes in meditation if you want. Do
Yeah.
2 minutes. And I've been
Yeah.
trying doing that this week, and it really makes a big difference. Just
Yeah, I
having, like
think
you said, a
it's
self
okay to
check.
have a bunch of tools in your toolbox, and it
Yes.
doesn't have to be one thing every day. It could be a
Hmm.
number of things. If you don't have time to journal, do a self check in. If you're not
Correct.
driving, take 5 minutes in between your meeting, put on some,
Yeah.
there are so many like energy meditative music on,
Yes.
Spotify or
Spotify.
Apple Music. Put that on, put a timer on for 5 minutes and just close your eyes,
That's
move, like
it.
do something. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, I was taught too, like, even if thoughts come into your mind, that's okay. Right. Just take it, but it's time for yourself. Right. More than anything else. And I think the reminder to me always when I journal too is we are not machines. That's what I tell people.
No, ma'am.
We're
Mhm.
not superhuman. We're not, we're not machines. So just do something for you and focus because you won't be able to do everything on your list. And that's okay. Prioritize.
Absolutely. I
Right.
think I'm a primary care doctor, so prevention is like my love language.
Oh,
Like, how do
I can
we
only
prevent
imagine.
burnout? And
Yes.
this carries over to our everyday lives, right? If you're going to burn yourself out to the ground, down to the
Hmm.
ground, then you won't be able to do anything, right?
Exactly.
Burnout is a true
It
mental
is.
exhaustion. And so if you're unable to prioritize and just do the things that we're
Hmm.
asking you to do to maintain mental health, then that puts you actually quote unquote more behind.
You're
And
right.
so build those little micro breaks into your day, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and do what works best for you. I have clients that just writing doesn't work for them and it's not something they gravitate towards. And that is okay. But you need to try it
Right.
out in order
At
to
least
rule
try.
it out.
Well, and I'm sure you tell your clients if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of everybody else?
A hundred
Right. We
percent.
start with you. We put ourselves last a lot of times as
Yes.
moms, but we
Yes.
should actually technically put ourselves first. And so, how do we
Absolutely.
change that? Right. You got to change the narrative and start somewhere. So, I think that's
Absolutely. I
key.
tell my patients that, I tell my
Yeah, I
clients
bet.
that. I'm like,
Yes.
we don't want to wait till we are down on the ground, unable to do anything, right? We want to
Correct.
prevent it before that happens.
And
And
we
then
see that
everything else is
too.
left to the universe.
Absolutely. I mean, talking to my parents too, I always ask, like, if there's one thing that you could have done when you were younger, what would have done? What would you have done? And my dad's response is, I would have prioritized my health. Right. Because once they get older, they realize, oh my gosh, I focus so much on career and all this
Yeah.
aspect, but not on myself. Right. Just, so I was like, that's a really good point, especially being in your 40s now. You have to
Yes,
prioritize your health, strength
girl.
training, all of that mental load. Yes.
Can I vent for just
Please,
like
please
five
do.
seconds? Mona, how old are you?
42.
Okay. So I had patients, friends, I had a bunch of people telling me, like, Flora, when you turn 40, like, shit's gonna go down. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been strength training for almost like
Right.
10 years now. I take care of
You're like, I got
myself.
this down.
I got this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm doing that to prevent my body breakdown at
Yes.
40. Girl, I turned 40 and I don't know what the fuck happened. Like, I started having sciatica pain. I started having this pain,
Yes.
muscle pulls. I developed bursitis, which I've
Oh
never
my
had in my life. Doing
gosh.
Pilates, by the way. I
What
wasn't
you've
even
probably
doing
always been
anything
doing. You've
crazy.
always been doing Pilates, right?
I, w- I, again, I apologize to all those who warned me and I wrote you off because you are correct. But I am slowly learning to listen to my body
Yes.
because I think even though I was doing all the things, right? Eating well, working out, strength training, cardio, all the things that I preach to my patients, I was doing myself. I also was taking my body for granted a lot of the times. I was
Right.
like, oh, you can push harder. Oh, you
Yeah, it'll
can
be
do
fine.
better.
Hmm.
You'll be fine because you'll be
Yes.
fine.
Yes.
And now I actually had my own doctor's appointment. And she was like, Flora, if you have pain, you do not push through that. And I'm like, wait, what?
I've always
Why?
done that.
I've
Yeah.
always done that. And she's like, you got to be careful. And I'm like, oh man. But honestly, this was like 3 weeks ago where I had
Oh my
this
gosh.
appointment and I have been careful. I've been listening to
That's
my
good.
body. And I will say today was the first strength session where I felt challenged.
Did you?
So I took it slow, like
Okay,
just
good.
knowing that I
Hey,
took it slow, took
that's
it
great.
light, and
Yes.
slowly graduated. Like patience is, it's testing me for sure.
Yes. Well, that's good. You recognize it. And I agree with you. I felt the same way. I was an athlete. So it's always push yourself, push yourself.
Mhm.
And then I
Yeah.
started having knee pain when I got in my 40s. And I was like, what is that? Like, I do squats all the time. I do strength training. And that's what my doctor told me. So he was like, you need to rest your knee, but it is also because you probably need to do a little bit more strength and flexibility. And I'm like, what? I've been an athlete.
I
And I was like, well, that was
know.
like 20 years ago, right?
I
Like,
know. That's
it's
the
just
thing.
things that catch up to you. And even just
Absolutely.
eating right? Like
Yeah.
when I was in my 20s, I could eat whatever I wanted and it was
Oh
fine
my
because I was so
God. The
active.
late night
Um,
pizzas and
Oh, yeah. And now, oh my gosh, I have to watch everything, focus, well balanced meals, protein. I'm like, all this, but
it's a
it
lot
does
of
make a
work.
difference. It is a lot of
It's a
work,
lot of
but
work that's totally worth it though.
it is
I
100% worth
I
it.
counsel a lot of my perimenopause, menopause patients and a lot of them are upset, angry about their bodily changes
Hmm.
and that, their hormones are changing, how they store fat, how they build
Yes,
muscles changing. And I'm like, we don't have as much wiggle room. And
don't.
that's just
We don't. We don't have
fact.
time anymore. Yeah, we don't.
Correct. And then if we don't have as much wiggle room in our activity and nutrition, and if you're upset about that, you're
Hmm.
going to be less proactive about it. So
That's true.
accept that as a fact and then figure out how you can adjust and pivot because it is possible. It's just,
Right.
it's not fun or easy, but it does get easier as you more you do it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's a great point. And perimenopause is what we talk about in my group too. That was one of our topics actually.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know, all the signs, all these things that were coming. I'm like, why am I getting moody? Why am I fatigued? And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I might be going through this perimenopause. And you're right. How do you deal with it? And I think that's such a great thing being a coach to have someone guide you because you don't know how to manage it sometimes. And you
Ooh,
keep thinking it's
it's a
just
trip.
you, but it's like we're all going through it. And
We're
it's
all
just not an
going through
open
it.
topic as South Asians, right?
Yep.
Our parents didn't talk to
Exactly.
us about that.
No,
They
I don't
probably
think
didn't even
I
know what
even knew.
perimenopause,
Yeah,
was.
I don't think my mom even knew. She knew something was happening, but
Even working out, when my mom's like, yeah, I walk and I go, oh yeah, you walk. She was like, yeah, I walk around the house. I was like, that is not a workout. It's just like even telling them what that means, like go do strength training, do
yeah,
weights.
yeah.
I think we're trying to change that for our, own parents.
Yeah. So you've told us how you are a badass, productive mom. What are your distractors? What do you struggle with when it comes to focus?
Yeah, for me, I always have a running list in my head and I feel like it just needs to stop. Right. It's just like a million things for like my family, for work, for South Asian working moms, all the things. So it's just prioritizing. And I have lists just like you on my phone, on the notes. And so I just keep it there and then I just shut off. Right. Well, like when I'm done, I'm done. And two, what I struggle with is being a perfectionist. And
Girl, yeah.
so I know. And so I feel like it's never final. Right? Even at work, like my projects, I want to always have that adding touch at home. And I finally now realize just let go. Like even if I ask for help, it may not be done exactly how I want it, but that's okay. Like even we just went, to Italy. We had an amazing family trip. My husband planned the whole thing,
Oh,
start
wow.
to finish. And it was great. It was great. There's some things I would have added, but we did it there and it was fine. But I let go and I was like, this feels amazing because usually
That
I'm the one who's the
is
planner and does all the things.
exactly.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's do this in other things in life, So
Yeah.
that's how I've started to let go.
Spontaneity there is something special about it,
There
even though it's
is.
uncomfortable. But gosh, you let go of a lot, which that makes me
It's
just,
hard, especially
yeah,
when we are in control. We're type A's, right?
yes.
And to let that go. But I just realized that it's okay. And honestly, seeing him happy that he was like, he owned the whole trip and we all just went
Yeah.
along made me happy to see that too, that, it's okay. And if things didn't go the way I wanted to on certain things, that's fine because we still got to see everything and we were together. Right. And
Right.
that's
And I think,
okay.
yeah, that's like the 50-foot view. And also one thing that that I also recognize while traveling is things don't always have to be planned to the T.
Yes.
Adding things on the back end or just letting go. Gosh, it makes us so much happier.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Exactly. I mean, so what are things, I mean, I'm curious too. What are things you think you struggle with?
Oh, okay. So perfectionism is one of them.
Yes.
I lately have been struggling with a lot of imposter syndrome, ironically, which is what
Hmm.
I coach on. But being in this space of entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
I have to quiet that negative voice a lot. And I actually have asked for help to quiet that negative voice. So I'll talk it out with my husband, I'll talk it out with my therapist.
It's great.
I have a business coach being like, oh gosh, I don't feel good about this because
Yeah.
I think I'm like, a fraud or whatever. Like
Yeah.
these very mean, extreme things that my negative voice,
Yeah.
whose name is Evilla, Evilla's a
Oh,
total bitch. Like she's so
get rid of
bitchy.
Evila.
Oh
Yes.
my God. I always call our negative voices like our frenemy. Like they're there to protect us, but
Yes.
sometimes they're just so dramatic. They just need to like chill out for a little bit. But my Evilla voice has been very loud. So it's been one of those things that I think has actually kept me from being productive, ironically.
Oh, wow.
And so I know I need help with other people I trust, right? I'm not just
Yes.
asking for random opinions. I obviously value Sanjay's opinion. I
Of
value my
course.
business coach. Definitely value my therapist, who's like a godsend. And I value their opinions and objectivity. And if I'm over my head, like the
Yeah.
three of them I know will tell me, like, okay, Flora, let's back up a little bit. So that's been it's a
Yeah.
non-traditional distractor,
Yeah.
but it's a common one. And it's something that even
It
as a
is.
coach, I struggle with. I just now know what to do with it.
Yeah, I think one is recognizing it, right? Two, and then two, I always call it like your personal board of directors, right?
Oh,
I've always
yeah.
been taught. And so I feel like that's what you called upon, right? You have
I love
your
that.
three people, your personal board, you're going
Yeah.
to get advice, the
I
people
love
you
that.
trust the most, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like it's anything in life when you question yourself and you doubt yourself, we do that. And it's also because of burnout, right? Like we're
Yes.
questioning ourselves
Good
on
point.
everything. So I think
Good
it's
point.
all interrelated, but I think recognizing it, Flora, is so key. And like you said, even being a doctor and what you do, you
Yeah.
still have help, right? And talk to others about
Absolutely.
it.
100%.
That's
I
so
definitely
important.
do not do this alone. Now, me and you, when we initially had our like meetup
Yes.
conversation, we both bonded on our productivity hack of time blocking.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yes.
I feel like your friends have asked you, I feel like a lot of my friends and followers have asked me like how I
Yes.
time block. What is the idea behind time blocking?
So to me, time blocking is very simple, right? Instead of creating laundry list of things to do, prioritizing what are those like tasks that you need to get done in a day. So I would say for me, when I time block, I focus on 3 to 5 things every day that I need to get done. And then with that, then I start going on my work calendar because that's what I use during the daytime is my Outlook calendar. And I
Hmm.
start looking at my meetings. So there's some that are just non-negotiables. Work meetings, I have to do that. Dropping the kids off to school, have to do that and pick up. And I start just looking at my day. And then I look my priorities and say, okay, where do I fit this within my day and start blocking off time? Now, people assume that when you time block, your whole day is just packed. You don't have to block off time for you too, right? So it may look like when people see my calendars, they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, no, no, no. I block off like 30 minutes for go for a walk, right? It's just little things like lunch. So that's what I think is just prioritizing that and being intentional with your time. And I'm in product world. So I almost look at it as a sprint, right? Every day I have a goal and then how do I sprint to get it all done? And then at the end, I feel accomplished. So a typical day for me could be in the morning, I wake up at 5:30, I get coffee, and get my kids ready. We're out the door by 7, right? 7 to 8, I block off as drop off time, but, and coming back home, work out. 8 to 9, I block off 8 to 9 to work out. 9 o'clock, I'm already on. I'm starting to catch up on emails. Right before I do that, I journal for 5 to 10 minutes with my coffee. I have to have my coffee. And then my whole day, I start looking at my work calendar. And then from there, I fit in things. So if there's things I need to work on for school, for my kids, for example, I was planning graduation. I will block off time and say, I need to focus 30 minutes on this and work on the spreadsheet. I have stuff for South Asian working moms. So I usually try to use my lunchtime and try to catch up on the emails for that, any follow-ups that I have. And then, my work stuff, right? My work stuff probably takes a good chunk of time. And then to pick up the kids, I still pick up the kids from, so I block off an hour on my work calendar. But my team knows that don't schedule meetings unless it's important, but I'll call you in the car. They know I'm in the car from that time. And then afterwards, just catching up on anything from the follow-ups from my meetings in the day, any preparation I need to do for the next day for meetings. And then it's just dinner time, dropping off the kids, right? And it's just, you block off so that you're not overwhelmed and stressed. You kind of already know. And then the night before, I look at my next day and just say, okay, what do I have planned?
Yep.
But in between, like I said, blocking off that time for a break, right?
Yeah.
All of that. So what about you? I mean, that's how I time block.
That's exactly
really, that
how I do
prioritization
it.
is key. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think it's important. Like I also have like a running list of just all the things in life that we all need to do.
Yes.
And then I prioritize things out of that list per my time block. So for example, today I'll go through my time block day now. Around 5:45, I wake up, I do my morning routine. I work out from 6 to 7. I worked out. I think I was a little bit behind schedule by 15 minutes, but Gia is relatively independent. So 7 a.m. I work out at home. So 7 a.m. I
Perfect.
come in through my garage and yell at Gia, making sure that she's up, ready. And so I finish my workout, I make breakfast, I help Gia get out the door. Today, I do have a nanny that helps me with pickups and drop offs and just tidying around the house because that keeps my mental sanity.
Absolutely.
And I just don't have the bandwidth right now. And then so drop off is around 8 to 9. I got myself ready because I needed to be on camera. Otherwise, I usually look pretty homeless.
We love our yoga pants.
I know. And then I use, 5 to 10 minutes to get ready for, the podcast, just making sure everything technology is working.
Right.
Your intro, just, getting prepped.
Yeah.
And then after our podcast is done, then I'm going to take a quick 5-10 minute break, kind of debrief and also just let go because this is a lot of energy in a great way.
Yes.
But I know I can burn out relatively quickly when I'm having in-depth conversations that fill my cup.
Sure. Yes.
And so I give myself a 10-minute break. And then given that this podcast recording was earlier, that's when I now look at my calendar, look at my to-do list. I have a time block between 10 and 12. So I will, do things within that time block that I can prioritize, whether it's booking trips. And I actually like to categorize my stuff too. So if it's more personal stuff versus business related things, I don't like to multitask over multiple categories.
It's a good call out.
And there are actually studies showing that those who have multiple, we have a bunch of tabs open, right?
Right.
And if we have a bunch of tabs open that are all within different categories. For example, if I'm in clinic, I'm writing my notes, I'm filling in prescriptions, writing back to patients. But then if I also have my Amazon page up and my grocery list up and my Instacart up and I'm toggling between 5-6 different things, that's splitting my brain. But I am multitasking within my patient care versus my home to-dos.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to multitask, but just multitask within your category.
I think it's such a good call out, the one category, because you're right, because then you're in all directions and you're not focused anymore.
Correct. Yes. And I like the fact that you do keep your goals small. So 3 to 5 things in a day. I do want to stress that for people.
Yes, in a day. Because I feel like people think they should have this laundry list and it's not. You could have a to-do list of 20 things like I do in my phone, but in that day, I'm going to get overwhelmed. Give me 3 to 5. And that's where prioritization is key.
Yes.
Right. So for me, let's say I do have a busy day and I don't have time for groceries. I give myself grace that I'll go on Instacart or Shipt and order the groceries and it's at my front door while I'm in a meeting. And that's okay.
That's okay. It doesn't have to be the norm, but if it's your norm, that's okay too.
It's okay. Exactly. Yeah. And it's fine. Yeah. So I love that you do that too. And you block off 2 hours to catch up on all the things. Because the day just flies by and then you waste time if you don't block it.
It does.
right?
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I have blocked off times for breaks, meals. I
Hmm?
I give myself 20 minutes to eat, like without interruption. I may be like watching TV or listening to something or maybe in
Right.
silence depending on what I need. And then I have patients in the afternoon and then I usually take like a 30-minute break after my patients because I'm
You need
also
to
again
decompress. Yeah. It's a whole
exactly I need
day of
to
talking. And
re-energize and then I'll work again. So um
do you
say
block
a
off, like, do you block off time to go to places? So I even like, if I have to go to their school, I block off that time. And I know that sounds
absolutely.
so minuscule, but you have
No,
to. Otherwise, people
absolutely.
will book over it.
Yes,
Right. So I feel
absolutely.
like,
I think travel time is so important
yes,
to incorporate, especially if you live in larger cities like Atlanta or Los Angeles.
absolutely.
And so, yes, so on Friday, so Fridays we give our nanny the day off, and I'm usually in charge of drop off and pick up, which I love because we get to, I get to talk to
Catch
Gia.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so we carpool with some friends for after school activities on Fridays. So every other week we take turns, and I absolutely
It's a
block
good
off
idea.
time to do pickup, drop off,
Yes.
taking all the kids to tennis, and all that time is blocked off. Nothing is booked. I don't like multitasking while I'm present with my kid. If I have to,
Yes. No, you're right.
absolutely. But overall, that's a non negotiable.
Yeah. And I think that's key. What is non negotiable? Right. And put that first on your calendar, right? When you time block, everything else then will fall into place.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, okay, a listener is like, all right, ladies, I'm ready to time block. Let's go step by step. Where should people start?
Yeah. Okay. So first, I would say identify what your priorities are, like we were discussing, right? What matters this week or this day?
This
So
day.
I
Yeah.
pick 3 to 5 things in a day. And then two is what is the best time blocking tool for you? So for example, I use two tools. One for work during the day, I use Outlook. That's what I'm on all day. So I time block on Outlook till about 5 o'clock my time.
So just for whoever doesn't know what Outlook is an online calendar, just like Google, Apple, a lot of larger companies use it. We use Outlook as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Corporations use Outlook in and out
Mhm.
for our email, Teams. Yes, so that is
Mhm.
our tool. And that's what my team can see, right? So I have to block off so people aren't contacting me during certain time blocks too. And then after 5 o'clock, I go on my Apple calendar. So we have a shared family calendar, for example. And that's where it's like soccer practice, school activities, dinner, all those things go on that. So I work between two. You have to do what's best for you, but pick what that tool is, right? And what works for whoever it is, whether it's for you and your family. And then start mapping out like what is most important that's a non-negotiable, like we talked about. What are the things that are top priorities? School drop-offs, right? Meetings, appointments, doctors, all of that. Go ahead and put it on your calendar. Then you start seeing what available time do I have now? And that's how I start off, right? So then I start blocking off the time for those priorities and how much time is it going to take for those? And you'll see it fills up pretty quickly,
It
right?
does.
But I do want to caveat, like when I work, like that time is for work, right? So this is like when I schedule time in between, it's for like a quick break or during my lunchtime. I'm like you. I eat really quickly, 15, 20 minutes, but I block off another 30 minutes to get work done. Right. So that sometimes makes it a little difficult with work meetings, right? That you have on
Yeah.
there. And then I would say the next step is only when you put it on your calendar, that's the only thing you focus on.
Yes.
Don't like you said, don't have multiple tabs, all of that. Like it is for one major task per block. Like you just focus on that. Now you may get done early and that's okay.
Correct.
Now you can use that time for anything else that you need, or if you want to catch up on something, but your goal is like that block is a sprint. You want to get that done. So it's off your list and you're done. It's checked in, as complete.
Mhm.
Then I would say, as you do that, add buffer between items. People try to pack their
Yes. So
day, like we were
important.
saying, add that buffer because you think it's only going to take you 30 minutes. It may not, right?
Yeah.
Block off 45, give yourself an extra
Mhm.
15-minute buffer. If you
Yeah.
get done early, if not, that's totally fine. And then once I do that, I always tell people, make sure you include personal time.
Yeah.
Everything does not
So
have to be
important.
about everything else, not work, all this other, like I'm doing South Asian working moms. I block off time for my friends, like coffee dates. Those things are very, very important to include on there too. And then at the end of the day, see what you really accomplished. And if
Yes.
you think that time block worked or not, and get flexible, right? If it didn't work,
Yes. Pivot.
change it for the next day. Yeah, pivot is needed, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then review and tweak. Like I would say
Yeah.
that's like eight steps I would say
Yeah.
to time block.
Yeah.
And
I
is
love
that
that.
similar to what you have?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think you almost said it almost word for word. The only thing I would love to add
Hmm.
is if as a listener, if you're listening and you're like, I don't even know where to start because my day is so haphazard, do a time audit. And a
Mm.
time audit is where you timestamp every single solitary activity for the day. If you took a dump at 6:35 a.m. and you stayed in the bathroom for 10,
Yes.
10 minutes, also please don't stay in the bathroom for 10 minutes
Yes,
on
please.
the toilet. Ladies, like hemorrhoids are a real thing. Okay. Anyway, so
Coming from the doctor herself.
coming from, yes, coming from a lot of patient care. But it's really important to know what you do in a day. Like, are you
Yes.
spending an hour on Instagram doom
Hmm.
scrolling at night when you could be resting, right?
Yes.
Or are you scrolling in the morning when you could actually be getting up and taking personal time for yourself, whether
Agreed.
that's meditating, working out, going out for a walk, whatever that may look like for you.
Hmm.
But do that for maybe, I don't know, I say 3 days during like the working week and
Hmm.
on the weekend because kids
Yes.
activities and social
Oh,
activities
yeah.
and all that stuff come into play, but see what you're actually doing
Yeah.
in the week. And it's important to kind of see those pockets of time
Yes.
where you may not be utilizing for personal or
Hmm.
re-energizing or health or
Right.
work or or socializing, sorry.
Yeah.
So I
I
think
love
it's
that.
important to look at that.
Yeah, time audit. I think that's so crucial. I mean, I was one of those that made excuses why I wasn't working out.
Ah,
And
yeah.
I didn't call it a time audit, but that's such a great way to think about it. And I started looking at like, where do I have time? And that's when I figured out like, I just put on my gym clothes because on my way after I drop off the kids, the gym is on my way and I feel guilty if I don't go. It's
Perfect.
right there.
It's right
And
there. And
it's right
you're
there.
already dressed.
And I'm in my dress, so I don't have any
Yes.
excuse, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
we make those excuses like, I don't have time. I got to log in. And I think that time audit is so important because that's where I realized I have pockets. And I
Yeah.
was just sitting there scrolling. I really
Yeah.
was. I was reading the news, which is important, but like then I got on
Right.
Instagram and I
Yep.
started doing, I'm like, why am I wasting 30 minutes of my time when I could be at the gym lifting weights and running?
Absolutely. And guess what? The news is not going to change and neither will Instagram. All that stuff is
Exactly.
still
It's
there.
always there.
And you can also build in that time. For a lot of my clients who struggle with doom scrolling, I tell them to build that into their day. If they need
Yeah.
15 minutes for like just vegging out and looking at, TikTok videos, and it brings them laughter and it brings them joy and it helps them
Yes,
connect with other, by all means, do it. But build
exactly.
it in versus just, endlessly because that
You're
60
right.
minutes
Cause
goes
that can
by
go.
really.
It
Absolutely.
does. It has to be
Absolutely.
like time increments for sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
All
love
right,
that. So
Mona.
that's good.
Mona, we have had so many good gems here,
Yes.
but I'm going to do a quick fire round with
All
you.
right. Let's do it.
So, quick questions, quick answers, which may not be possible. We're going to try our best.
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
Question number one, fill in the blank. South Asian women don't need another planner. They need blank.
Real strategies for setting boundaries.
Yes, love
Yes.
that. What is one productivity myth you wish would just die, like fall off the face of this earth?
I hate when people keep saying you can do it all. Like we overwhelm ourselves too much. Like prioritize what you need to do. You don't have to do it all. And
Yeah,
that's
and
okay.
delegate. Delegate.
Delegate.
Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
I'm definitely an optimist because I feel like even when bad things happen, you learn from it and you do better next time. So I always try to be optimistic. And that's what gets me through life, honestly.
Yeah,
So
I'm a recovering pessimist, like to the extreme, and Sanjay is a recovering like optimist who
is he?
also like stupid optimist is what I used to call it. So we've met in the middle as our relationship has grown. Okay, are you extroverted or introverted? I think I know the answer to
If you,
this one.
yeah, I was like, if you can't tell, I'm highly extroverted and I love meeting people and hearing their stories and connecting the community together. But I do feel like I need that downtime though, still. Like once I go out and have all these conversations, I need 30 minutes to myself to decompress. So
Yeah,
I
and
feel like, yeah, we
recharge.
all
I
do.
think that's fine.
Exactly.
What is one cultural norm that you are
Mhm.
currently working on unlearning or you've just already unlearned?
I feel like what a cultural norm that I always say is that sacrifice equals worth. And it really
Mm,
doesn't. Like sacrificing, you don't have to let go of certain things. You just have to understand how to integrate it into your life. Right.
yeah.
So don't feel like you have to sacrifice your career, for example, to be a mom.
Yeah.
You can balance and integrate it. Just figure
Yeah.
out where to set those boundaries. So that's what I'm trying. And I feel like before our parents did so much to sacrifice for us, which I appreciate more than anything. But I feel like like my mom, for example, could have done a lot more, right? That she wanted to, but she sacrificed it for us.
Right.
So,
right. And I think they sacrifice so we can do what we're doing
correct.
currently
Yes.
and have the bandwidth to, increase our emotional intelligence and self-growth and balance however
You
way
nailed
we
it.
can. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, so we talked about Outlook. I guess I'll add this in the
Yeah.
question. Outlook calendar versus Google Calendar versus Apple Calendar.
Well, the sad part is I use all three because it depends.
Me too.
Because there are a lot of people send me Google Calendar invites, but if I had to prefer, like I said, during the daytime, Outlook, because that is like my go-to for corporate. But personally, Apple. Everything's connected on Apple devices in our house, and we have a family shared calendar. So my kids can even see my calendar. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
If you could delete one app forever on your phone currently, what would it be?
Ooh. My husband probably agreed to this, but Amazon, I feel like it's so easy. I just do like 2 clicks and I bought something, and by 2 or 6 o'clock today, I have something delivered, right? Like,
I know. It's so
it's
bad.
so good, but it's so bad, right?
I
like,
know. I've definitely deleted this app way too many times to decrease my ease of getting things.
Yes.
Okay. Last question here. You're doing great. What is one thing you no longer apologize for?
I don't apologize for protecting my time and energy anymore.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm okay with setting boundaries, saying no, and only doing things that fill my cup. And I think I've learned that in my 40s. Maybe it's a 40 thing again.
Amazing.
So,
I love that. I love that. I always tell everybody that I love engaging in JOMO, the joy of missing out.
I love
FOMO. And it's just JOMO with a purpose, right? Whether it's
Yes.
recharging or being present with my family or whatever the reason may be.
Exactly.
Mona, this has been such a wonderful, wonderful recording. I'm so excited for our listeners to listen to it and start time blocking and being productive, badass mamas.
I know. And please tell us about it once you time block and how it has changed, what is the impact that it has? Because it's been a game changer for me.
Speaking of which, how can our listeners find you and your nonprofit?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to find me, my personal blog is at Mama Tribes Unite. And it's really about the mom community. And I talk about these types of things in real life stories. And then I have at South Asian Working Moms. It's a local Atlanta group, but it's a Instagram account's public. So we share a lot of great information with our speakers, the topics, just mom general items. So feel free to follow us. And I manage both of the accounts. So feel free to message anytime. Happy to help in any way.
Awesome.
But thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I feel like I could talk to you forever.
I know. I'm watching the time. I'm like, oh man, I got to wrap it up a little bit. But we will put all of your information in our podcast information page. Great. So listeners, go into whatever your listening platform is, go ahead and click on both of her Instagram handles, give it a follow, ask Mona questions. But in all, thank you for being here, Mona.
Thank you for having me.
Beyond listeners, thank you for being here. And just remember, like Mona said, this podcast is a two-way conversation. So we would love to hear from you. If something in today's episode resonated, go ahead and tag both of us.
Yes.
And DM us or
give us screenshots. Show us your time blocks.
Yes,
we'd love to see it.
I would love to see that.
That would energize both of us, I feel.
110%. Yes. Listeners, if you found this episode helpful, the best way to support the show is to hit that follow button on your listening platform. Leave a quick rating, a quick review, share it with your mom, your sister, your friend, your colleague. A lot of people need to hear this. So let's continue to help each other to live beyond our labels and boxes. Your support truly does mean the world to me. This is filling my cup, as are all of you. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, remember, mindset is medicine. Keep showing up for yourself, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining and spending your precious time here with me. As someone who prioritizes her energy, I am so grateful that you chose to spend yours here. To help me help you, please take an extra 30 seconds of your time to rate and review the podcast on your listening platform. For more tips and a behind-the-scenes look into my life, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Flora Sinha. That's Dr. Flora Sinha. Finally, Connecting with you truly fills my cup. So DM me on Instagram, email me at florasinhamd@gmail.com, repost if you love this episode. I love hearing from you. I am so grateful for you and cannot wait to be back for the next episode. Bye.